welcome to Astroamsa. Today we'll be talking about the planetary aspects of malefic planets in Vedic astrology. Okay, we are continuing the part 2. So let's get started. Now, malefic planets Mars, Saturn, and nodes of the moon, that is Rahu and Ketu, all have special aspects. Okay, now let's begin with Mars. Mars has 4th, 7th, and 8th aspects. Mars' 4th aspect refers to what are we protective about, what we are defensive about, our intense desires, what do we seek so badly, and what we strive for, what do we fight for. It is basically the house which we will like to control. Then Mars' 7th aspect shows you'll dominate that house significance. Also, the house significance will come to you or be the reason for arguments, fights, and conflicts. Because Mars is what? Mars is a fury planet. It's a soldier fighting out there, and it's going exactly 7 places away from itself. So there will be some kind of competition between you and the other house significance, even if you don't want to compete and argue. Mars also represents passion. So you'll also be passionate about this house significance. Also, there might be conflicts or lack thereof depending on Mars' dignity. Then Mars' 8th aspect. Mars' 8th aspect is what makes us happy, or rather what causes growth and what we are afraid of as well. Because remember, 8th house is the original house of transformation. And anytime there is a transformation, it is for the betterment of you. Change brings growth, right? But we are afraid of changes in the first place. Only when we face our fears can we embrace change. So Mars' 8th aspect makes one face the house significance and dive deep to understand about what is hidden. This can also mean being desperate for things to change or transform. You are seeking some change desperately. It all depends on Mars' placement. Then Saturn. Now Saturn also has special aspects. Like I said before, it aspects 3rd, 7th and 10th place from itself. Saturn's 3rd aspect will bring restriction towards that house. Saturn is negative and cold planet. So there might be negativity or formal relationship. It may also mean that the house significance will come and go and not stay. You'll be putting in lots of work and efforts towards that house significance, only to realize later you weren't rewarded for whatever work you did. It may make you frustrated because you are putting in so much only to get little, and there can also be conflicts and dissatisfaction from that house. There may be restricted, distant, or long distance communication with that house significance. Your courage and confidence may either be raised or lowered depending on the Saturn's dignity. Now, let's say, for example, if Saturn is in your 9th house and aspects 11th house from its 3rd aspect, here it will restrict your network circle. There may be restricted, distant, formal, or long distance relationships with the network circle. But with Saturn always, things may change after 30 plus or midlife when Saturn matures at the age of 36. It is because Saturn wants you to learn the lessons before he rewards you. Then Saturn's 7th aspect. Okay, Saturn's 7th aspect brings restriction, dislike, obstacles, negativity, fear, and sadness towards the significance of that house. It will make you less desirous of that house significance. Like if it is gaining profit and there is a possibility of earning more or making more, but Saturn here will make you fearful of losing entirely if you ask for more. Okay, if Saturn, let's continue with the above example. Saturn in the 9th house now will aspect your 3rd house from its 7th aspect, which is what? Communication, neighbors, younger siblings, short distance travels. So it will restrict your bonding with them. Okay, there might be distant relationship with your neighbors, younger sibling, there may also be a lot of obstacles in your path because of your communication, because of your neighbors, younger sibling. Your courage, your communication, your neighbors will create problems for you. The moment you raise your voice, there might be some people will turn out to be your enemies. Okay, there might be some problems for you. The communication may be blunt and cold, practical and realistic with Saturn. Okay. Then Saturn's 10th aspect. It shows where you're careless, ignorant, or taking things for granted, and where you have to learn to be disciplined and put efforts. Be effortful. Okay. Here you'll ignore and overlook the significance of that house. There may be a lot of problems and conflicts because of your absence or ignorance towards that house significance. These problems will cover most of your life if you don't pay attention to it, if you don't improve, if you do not put efforts. You'll have to deal with those issues for your growth. These problems will also affect your work. You may also be devoid of that house significance depending on the Saturn's dignity. Saturn will restrict the significance of that house. Like, for example above, Saturn will here now from 9th place when it will aspect your 6th house. Shows you'll have to deal with lot of enemies, deaths and diseases. You'll be unhealthy or maybe suffering from chronic ailments that will obstruct your growth for a long time. It also means that you won't be able to maintain a routine in your life. Okay. See, with Saturn, everything is about limitation and obstruction, efforts and fear. And depending on the placement of Saturn, after a certain period, most likely 32 plus 36, things may change. Okay. Lastly, nodes of the moon. Do they have aspects? Yes, Rahu and Ketu has aspects. Rahu and Ketu do not have the 7th aspect, because they are placed 1/7 to each other. They are placed exactly opposite to each other. And basically they are one body, right? Rahu is the head part and Ketu is the 12th, the tail part. So head and tail. So they are basically not different identities. They're basically one body. So they do not have 1/7 aspect. That is called as the Rahu Ketu axis. Okay. Now it is also said that Rahu and Ketu have no other aspects being sensitive points. But just as Jupiter, every planet also has trine influence, that is 5th and 9th house. This trine influence of other planets is not as powerful as Jupiter and so not considered. But Rahu Ketu, since they don't have any aspect, so this trine influence is considered as their aspect. So Rahu Ketu has 5th and 9th aspect. And there will always be a dilemma of wanting it and not wanting it, or to get power and feeling powerful wherever there is 1/7 axis. That is wherever Rahu and Ketu are placed. So let's discuss both of them. Now Rahu has 5th and 9th aspects. Now Rahu's 5th aspect shows a lack of understanding the true nature of that house. For example, Rahu from 9th house aspecting your 1st house shows one is not self-aware. One is going through identity crisis. One is being insecure and yet not focusing on it. Yet not putting in the efforts to improve it, to understand it. Here, one may not realize their true nature or their identity, okay, their personality. This kind of illusionary belief system. Okay, it is a house where you are not focused on. Rahu shows our obsession and attachment. Here, with 5th aspect, it shows the opposite, where you are detached or not desirous of those things. Rahu also shows things that we are constantly thinking about and are insecure about. Okay. Then Rahu's 9th aspect. Rahu's 9th aspect shows our overconfidence. Things that we think we know everything about, but may not necessarily be the expert at. There will always be this desire for short-term quick gains, because Rahu's significance will always be there. It shows egoistic mindset that is misplaced, because here you might not have the knowledge, yet you believe that you are a great teacher, you know everything, you know it all. Okay, so here With Rahu's ninth aspect, you need to reflect, introspect, embrace, and work on it. Then Ketu. Ketu's fifth aspect shows restrictive, spiritual, detached relationship. Here, you'll crave it, but when you realize you're getting it, you will let it go. So, it's kind of a complicated aspect. You may depend on that house for your decisions, to make decisions regarding that house. There may also be a feeling of limitation or loss to that house where it is placed because of the significance of the house it aspects. For example, if Ketu is in your 11th house and aspects 3rd house, you will feel that you're losing your gains because of your communication. You may be influenced by that house significance where Ketu aspects. Your communication will be very deep, spiritual, philosophical with that house significance. And with Ketu's 5th aspect, you will not go after it or chase the house significance, but you will be curious about it. Okay. Then Ketu's 9th aspect is where you will feel detached, distant, restricted, limited, and shattered. Those things that we want to detach ourselves from, especially emotionally, or that we are restricted or separated from, but we'll always seek them, explore them, wanted to research about them, wanted to know them, connect with them, and also be dissatisfied with that, because most of the times you won't get it. You'll feel a lack of fulfillment because of absence or lack of them. Okay, so yeah, that was all about the planetary aspects in Vedic astrology. We have covered all the planets. Understand that aspects impact or influence also depends on degrees and their rulership. Okay, so overall chart needs to be seen to correctly interpret. All right, so that was all for today. For consultations, you can check out the description box given below. Okay, so thank you for watching.